Kia ora koutou, I'm Michael Fletcher and I'm Principal Tumuaki of Chaucer School here in Tamaki Makaurau in our incredible country of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Do you meerkat? You don't? Then get in touch and we can help. We provide coaching for principals and leaders with a focus on empowering you to thrive. Go to arrowcats.co.nz, that's arrowcat with a K, or drop us an email. Your board is more than governance. They're your support crew. But they may need some help regarding what that support could look like. Welcome to Getting Your Board on Board. First tip, plan and normalise. We know that when things are on plans, they are more likely to happen. So with this in mind, make sure that you have principal well-being on your annual board work plan. And if you find it tricky to advocate for yourself, then you could always ask a trusted principal colleague or get your coach to support you. Either way, make sure that principal well-being is on that work plan as a separate item. And if you want to see an example of a board work plan with principal well-being, student well-being, and staff well-being as separate discrete items assigned to their own meetings, send me a message or drop me an email and I'm happy to share our board work plan with you. Next, a reminder. You're the CEO of your school, and as such, you're entitled to tangible supports to help you to do your job effectively and to thrive. So what could that look like? Well, here are some things that either I've got in place to support me in my role, or colleagues have told me that their board provides for them. So things such as a separate principal PLD budget, a principal expenses budget, a school supplied phone and or a phone plan. And here's an example from back in the day when I went to my board chair, as he was then, to ask for something to support me in my role. I'd spent quite a lot of time stewing on this particular request, but eventually, as he'd asked me how the board could support me in my well-being, I plucked up the courage and said, look, I would really like to, on the days when my daughter is with me, to leave school a bit early so I could pick her up from school. His response? Oh, Michael, I thought you were doing that already. And in that moment, I really appreciated that this thing that I'd been building up in my head, my board chair at the time, he thought I was already doing that. So, like I said earlier, if you find it tricky to advocate for yourself, practice it. Trust me, once you've done it once, it gets a lot easier. And you can always get support from a principal colleague or your coach. Finally, boards doing the thank you mahi. Now, earlier I said that principal well-being should be treated as a separate thing to staff well-being. However, there are occasions where we as principals should absolutely be included in the whole staff. So for example, when the board put on some kind of thank you from them to the staff. What am I talking about? Well, a number of years ago, I meerkatted and paused and reflected on the multiple occasions where the board were saying thank you to the staff, but when it came to doing a lot of the mahi for actually making that thank you happen, it was myself and the office staff. So for example, if they put on a morning tea, I was buying the food for the morning tea, and then myself and the office staff were laying out the food for the morning tea. Staff barbecues that the board were putting on, again, myself and some of the office staff, we were helping put out the food. And it got to the point where I thought, I want to have a conversation with my presiding member and check in to see where if they're seeing the same thing as me, which in a nutshell was myself and the office staff, we're part of the staff. And if you're thanking us, it would be really appreciated if you could do the logistics and the ordering and the buying and the laying out. And my presiding member at the time said, "Oh, of course, absolutely." And then since then, whether it's been a barbecue or a morning tea, they have done all the mahi. Now I want to acknowledge my wonderful colleagues in smaller schools where often they're it, and that's a very different context, and there absolutely may be times where you have to step in. But having said that, I still feel it's appropriate to have the conversation with your presiding member and say, "Hey, I'm part of the staff. It'd be great if I didn't have to do extra mahi in what is ostensibly a thank you to me and the staff." I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If you think your board would benefit from learning more about how they can support you and your well-being, then we've got a workshop for you. On the 30th of October at 6 p.m, we're running an online workshop for board members titled "It's All About Your Principal." Go to arrowcat.co.nz, that's arrowcat with a K, and click on the workshop button, or drop us an email. Thank you for watching. Ka kite anō.